What is going on, everybody on YouTube? Griffin here, coming back to you guys with another video, and I wanted to continue our series about things that I wish I knew when I started my pest control business. For those of you that don't know, I'm the owner of Preferred Pest Management in the Dallas, Texas area. We've been in business for about 3 years now, coming up on 3 years quick, actually, only a few months now from hitting that 3-year mark. And within the first year of our journey, we hit 6 figures in sales, and we actually just had our official quote-unquote interview with our soon-to-be first W-2 employee. Most of you that have been tuning in know I have a 1099 guy who does a lot of like our rodent exclusion services, but we're finally to the point now where I can justify, hiring a W-2 guy. It's going to work out perfectly. He is totally fine with the fact that, hey, you're going to have some full-time weeks, but not every single week. He's going to be paid hourly, plus a commission, plus incentives to get reviews that mention his name as a technician. I'm trying to give even the part-time, quote-unquote, because he's starting as a part-timer, probably about 100 hours a month early on. Want to give him the maximum opportunity to earn as much money as possible while on the hourly wage. So I'll get into all of that and let you know how that journey goes as well. Of course, we'll probably have a series on, employee management and stuff like that as I continue to walk through that journey of expanding our business. But that's where we're at right now. We're not a huge company. We do have huge ambitions, of course. Most of you that watch know I talk about the fact that I refuse to settle for anything less than like a $50 million valuation. And I prefer to hit $100 million. Doesn't mean I'm going to get there. I believe so. You have to believe it for it to happen, but that's the goal. Those are the goals, essentially. 50 million is the start. So, we could always break down the math, but that's not what this video specifically is about. This video is, I believe, now part 8 of our series that we're continuing about things I wish I knew when I started my pest control business. This whole series, I'm just giving you guys, like pest control startup tips, so to speak, for those of you that are, looking to get into a pest control business startup or start up your own pest control business, whatever the case may be, partnership, anything like that. Like I said, the whole point of this channel is me just documenting my journey. I by no means have all the answers. I just tell you guys what works for me, what doesn't work for me, all of that good stuff. And in today's quote unquote episode of things that I wish I knew when I started my pest control business, I wish I knew how expensive a good accountant was. Now, this is going to sound, I'm sure some of you are like, oh God, click off. Like, I already know accounting this, blah, blah, blah. But hear me out. When I was younger, I'm still young, of course, just turned 26 a few days ago. But when I was like, 19, 20, early 20s, I used an accountant here and there for like my W-2 tax filing, stuff like that, which you really don't need to if you're just a W-2 employee, at least in my opinion. But I knew that, okay, it's probably going to be a couple $100, whatever, for, having an accountant. And then I went in this past year into my accountant's office, who is one of the best in the DFW Metroplex. They're, highly sought after, accountants. They're very good at their job. And it goes back to that saying, you get what you pay for. But I was not expecting the amount that it cost. We ended up paying our accountant for, now, with our accountant too, you pay them just one time for the whole year of services. They don't charge you for any type of course, consultations. They're not charging you, per individual, like quarterly tax filing, anything like that. They just bundle all the services up that they know you're going to need throughout the year and, sell to you as just like one package, essentially. So you pay them once for the year and, you're done. I won't pay them again until tax season of 2024. And the cool thing is you don't have to pay them until you want them to file, with the IRS, like actually file your actual tax filing. So say, you need a little bit of time to pay them, they can always file an extension for you. Now, you still have to pay the amount of taxes due by the April 15th deadline, of course, but in terms of the actual, filings and whatnot, they can file an extension, and it gives you some wiggle room. Like, I just paid them finally this month, so that gave me 2 months of wiggle room. We filed an extension through, I think, October or something like that. But they went ahead and filed it since I got them paid this month, of course. But that tax bill came out to about $3,400. Yeah, I mean, you're talking, what, almost $300 a month if you were to look at a month-to-month, rate or whatever. So it definitely is not cheap. Definitely, anyone that's offering to do, your S-Corp filings and this and that and the other, your quarterly filings and, everything that you need. And I will say, too, I have to admit one thing. It wasn't just standard, quarterly filings, the S-Corp filings, my personal income tax, all that stuff. It wasn't just that. They also went in and pretty much overhauled my QuickBooks. They cleaned it up big time for me. There were some things in there that I did on accident, not knowing essentially what I was doing. QuickBooks, it's fairly straightforward, but there are some things when you're looking at P&Ls and this and that in QuickBooks, if you're not careful, you can mess it up. And I just did a couple things that really just kind of made it a mess, essentially. So they went in there and cleaned it all up for me. They had to get pretty much every monthly, credit card statement to reconcile, the accounts and this and that. So they did a lot of work also within, what would you call it? Bookkeeping type of service for me as well. So that, of course, adds up tremendously. So who knows? I mean, chances are, from what I understand, I probably would have paid somewhere around $2,100 at the max, maybe at the absolute max, like $3,000. But still, even at, say, let's just say in the middle, $2,500, that's just over $200 a month. So don't skip out on accounting. It's definitely, something you do not want to limp out on. Have a professional. It's worth the money, but, like I said, it's something that I didn't know going in. I didn't know it was, going to be over $1,000, let alone, in my case, over $3,000, or in a normal case, over $2,000. And like I said, there's a lot of accountants out there who they'll just kind of, charge you as each event, happens. Of course, your April 15th, all that stuff. And then they'll charge, whenever you go in for your quarterly filings, they'll charge you individually. So every accountant is going to be different from that standpoint. But, if you add it up over a year, and especially the bigger your business gets, the more complicated things get. Do you have other investments, real estate properties, this and that? The more complicated, of course, your tax situation is, of course, it's going to be more and more expensive. But yeah, like I said, that's just something that I did not know, that I definitely wish I did. Does, this little, lesson necessarily, is it gonna make or break the business? Or, would I be, like I always mention with these type of videos specifically, would it make me like 1.5 to 3x larger of a company? No, but I mean, I don't know about you guys. I would like to know, what I'm gonna pay, versus just kind of have my own little idea based on what Google tells me and based on what people who don't even own a business tell me they pay their accountant. I would rather hear from somebody that's in my industry that has, been there, done that at least once or twice. And like I said, I mean, especially early on, I mean, $3,000, I mean, even $2,000 or $3,000, depending on your situation, that could make or break your business. So, and I will say too, being fully transparent, our first tax filing, since I was just a sole proprietor, it didn't make sense to do an S-Corp filing based on our level of profit the first year. Well, technically second year, because the first year was that 2 months that I owned the business. So technically the first 2 tax filings I had filed myself, just because when it comes to having an S-Corp, even the accountant mentioned this to me, you don't want to be an S-Corp until you're at least somewhere around for every accountant, their opinion's different. My accountant suggested at least $45,000 to $50,000 of profit before jumping over to the S corp bandwagon. And that first year, that first tax filing, of course, we were only in business for 2 months. We had like a net zero or net loss slightly. And then the second year, we were in the profit, but nothing, crazy high or anything like that. Just enough to kind of get by, essentially. So that tax filing I did myself as well. And then this year was the first year where I knew, like, hey, we're getting into some pretty quote unquote heavy profit territory. Definitely need to get the S corp thing going. Get an accountant in my corner, and I definitely suggest you guys do it. And I say that it may not make or break your business, which I mean it could if you're not doing your tax stuff right, obviously. But also think of it from the standpoint of an investment, like how much money and time, energy, just a whole bunch of stuff that you save by hiring a good accountant. If you were to try to do the S corp filing yourself and doing this, doing that, one, you're probably going to mess something up. You can make your tax bill higher, or it could be unintentionally, fraudulently lower and get yourself in trouble in an audit or something. Which, if you're in business long enough, you're going to get an audit anyways. But at least having a good accountant in your corner, you don't have to stress out about it. And then, like we said, all the time and effort and energy going into learning the whole accounting game. Now, if you have a spouse or something who is an accountant, then by all means, go for it. Do it yourself, right? But if you're like me, my wife's not an accountant. She did do some bookkeeping at a business she worked for in the past, but she's no accountant by any means. And I have very, very little accounting, expertise myself, outside of just being good with numbers. So, it's not a bad idea. Look at it as an investment, because that's what it is. You're getting back a ton of time. You're getting back a ton of energy. I'm not saying that you shouldn't have the knowledge still. I like that my accountants, they'll teach me, walk me through, obviously they'll answer any of my questions, but also they'll explain why, no, we can't do this, or, oh, I think we can do this, and this is how we can do this. They explain it to me, because I do think it's important that you should at least have a good, foundational knowledge of accounting, for your pest control business or any business that you own. But, like I said, just get an expert. It's definitely worth it. But like I said, that is pretty much what I wish I knew when I started my business. I wish I knew that accounting can definitely add up. No one really ever explained to me that, yeah, accountants are expensive. Like I said, I have my own experience with them. My father had his own experiences with them as well whenever he owned a business back in the day, 10 years ago or whenever I was living in Missouri. But no one ever told me, yeah, dude, it's going to be a couple G's. And I wish I knew that. And now, hopefully, the however many of you we got now, 1,800 of you, and the couple hundred people that'll watch this video or so, now you know that as well. So be planning ahead, set aside some money, or like I said, if you can find an accountant who is great, who only charges you a la carte, essentially, each time they provide one of those services, versus paying for the year. I like the paying for the year anyways. That way it's one and done. I don't have to worry about paying for any other thing, unless if there's, another service that I need to add on, like bookkeeping or whatever the case may be. I like that personally, but if it's not, for you, then by all means, like I said, find an accountant who charges you each time you actually go out. It's pretty much like us, right? You can pay us for the whole year, save a little bit of money, you pay it once and you're done, or you can pay per service, pay per month. Everybody's different. Same thing with accountants. It's just, the main thing is make sure you find a good one. If it sounds too cheap, the whole saying, if it's too good to be true, it probably is. Obviously, same thing with accounting. Just find a good one, and just know you're going to pay up a little bit for sure. Maybe not, like I said, early on, if you're doing everything right from day one, very, very early on when you're just filing as a sole proprietor. it's not going to be that expensive. You know, maybe, I think my accountant said for sole proprietor there's just like $1,300 or so, and again, that's the full year of everything, so keep that in mind too. But you know, that's a lot less than $2,000-3,000+, obviously. Like we said, the more involved they have to be, you know, the more complicated your return and everything is, the more it's going to cost, of course. So definitely keep that in mind when starting your pest control business and all that good stuff. Know that accounting is definitely necessary, but know that it's not a cheap service as well. But that's definitely worth it. So hopefully you guys, you know, learned a little bit of valuable information from this video. If you did, and if you liked the video, definitely make sure to hit that thumbs up button. I greatly appreciate it, and it helps the channel out tremendously. It helps us reach more inspiring pest control entrepreneurs. Speaking of pest control entrepreneurs, if you're not already in our totally free Facebook group, link for that is down in the description box below. We now have over 50 of you guys in there. Love to see that community that we just started this year continue to grow. And we also have, of course, our totally free Discord group chat for the pest control. Well, it's not just pest control entrepreneurs. It's called like real life entrepreneurship. We talk, of course, about a lot on the pest control business, but we also talk about investing and all that stuff. We have different chats within the chat, essentially, that, you know, fits everybody's needs. So we'd love to have you in there. And like I said, I didn't say this actually, if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button below as well and hit that bell icon. That way you'll be notified every time we go live or upload another video. I'm trying to be a lot more consistent with uploading some content for you guys, even if it's just a quick 5 to 15 minute video. As a matter of fact, I'm trying to keep them, I can see this one's already at like 16-17 minutes, but I'm trying to keep them at the bare minimum under 20 minutes, preferably under 10 to 15, because I notice a lot of you guys start to kind of tune out after about 5 to 10 minutes, which I don't blame you. I'm the same way, because I have YouTube Premium, I'll sometimes just shut the screen off and listen to it like a podcast, which if you prefer that, I'm trying to be more consistent about posting everything on the podcast as well. But until next time, guys, of course, if you have any questions, drop them in the comments or shout it out in our Discord group or the Facebook group so I can answer them for you in a video. Otherwise, go out there, get the life that you and your family deserve. Go get those millions, and I'll see you in the next video. Take it easy, everybody.